Well, welcome to episode 17 of Unrestricted Invasion. I am one of your hosts, Brian O'Shea. JJ Carrell will be on the stage shortly. And tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Venezuela. Now, everyone's talking about CPAC, and I meant to, but we think this is more important. And we're going to talk about Venezuela, the horrible violence. JJ is going to really dive into that, what he's seen, how it compares to what he's seeing today. And then I spent a few hours today kind of trying to unpack what's happening. Why is this happening, especially with Venezuela? Why is Venezuela getting all of this attention? Now, those of you that follow us long enough or follow any geopolitics, the answer might seem simple. Oil. And you know what? You'd probably be right. So we're going to dive into that as well. But let me talk about strength, and let me talk about how important is it in everyday life. So bullies are not only strong, a lot of times they're smart, especially in the game of geopolitics. Now, what we are seeing and what you're about to see is right now, the Biden administration is walking softly, stumbling and falling over and not able to find the stairway half the time and carrying about a twig. While other countries are in their face saying, what you going to do about it? Because as we've seen, the United States has said, hey, China, can you stop doing all that mean stuff to us? And they're like, no, you're racist. We're like, oh. And then they're like, hey, Venezuela, we'll lift the sanctions if you stop sending all the illegals here. And then they're like, yeah, sure, that's a good idea. Guess what? They increase the amount of illegals coming here, and they're worst. JJ will get into that. But there's more to it than that, because it seems like Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is now using the illegals to basically as his big stick, and it's a big stick. And I believe that's why, in addition to economic reasons, he's sending all the worst. He's emptying the prisons. JJ gets into that tonight as well. They've confirmed that the prisons are getting emptied. So if you want to use illegal aliens from your country, a huge flow of them, as leverage to get the Biden administration to not bring back sanctions, you better make sure they are terrifying, violent, and something the West is just not used to. And guess what? That's exactly what's happening. And yes, I know everyone says China, 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 but you know what? China's right in the middle of it. so is Wall Street, of course. So that's a nice little fu from our betters, as they say. Anyways, that is it. So strength in geopolitics are pretty simple. Okay, you don't even have to walk softly. You can clod hop. But you carry a big stick, but the thing you better be able to do and have the will to do is use it. And this administration doesn't have it. President Donald Trump had it, blew up Syrian bases, vaporized an Iranian general who, found himself in Iraq killing our soldiers. And he wasn't afraid to use it. And you know what? The world was a lot peaceful, because the only way to achieve world peace is strength. Until we all become little angels and not men and not humans who are subject to violence and mistrust and guilt, everything else like that, until humans are wiped out of all of our weaknesses, whatever they might be, the only thing that keeps people in line are boundaries. Those boundaries are protected by strength. Those boundaries are not only borders, but those boundaries are, do not do things to mess up our economy. Do not do things to hurt our people at all. Now, you might watch, there's a good show. It's kind of entertaining. It's called Fear Thy Neighbor. And in all of these cases, had all the neighbors, they end up killing each other by the end of each episode. It's pretty predictable, but it's good, mindless fun. By the end of each episode, if people had just been strong from the beginning, in my opinion, because I grew up with some tough neighbors, so you had to be tough. Okay, not like Corn Pop or anyone like that, but you had to like put your foot down and make it clear what the boundaries are. Don't cross this line. They cross that line, you break their jaw. You cross the U.S. line, you throw a couple missiles right up where the sun don't shine. We're not doing that right now. We're paying the price, and you see it closing in on us from every side. So that's all I can say about that. So it's about strength, and right now the U.S. is not showing it. The Venezuelans are, and they're kicking our butts. JJ, I'm going to put you on the stage here. Give me a second. How's it going, man?
Oh, doing good, man. How was the CPAC?
It was fantastic. I've never been. And I'm not a big GOP guy, but
Yeah.
I think Naomi articulates it better than I did. She did a Substack today called Letter from CPAC. Wasn't so much about the affiliation with CPAC or going to a Republican event. It was about having an environment that's full of energy that seems to allow a lot of young people, a lot of women, a lot of young women, to really shine and come up with ideas, and people planning and how are we going to win this precinct, and just getting to meet old friends and some new ones. I got to meet Chadwick Moore, really great guy.
Good.
He wrote the Tucker biography. Awesome dude. And so many more. Mike Lindell, I'd never met before, and saw Joe Allen, the AI editor for Steve Bannon. He's fantastic. I did see Steve Bannon, but he was like literally the center of the universe there. It was amazing. And then, of course, Trump. And Trump's like always, man. I could listen to him for hours. The energy was electric, and I do have some cell phone footage. I didn't want to carry cameras and stuff around, but it's so powerful, and it feels like America when you're there. So that was CPAC too.
No, that's great. And follow up on a Trump, a strong man. You hit it, and your monologue was perfect. Until we all become angels and the rapture comes and God is and Jesus is for 1,000 years, as the rapture says, of peace and harmony, unless you're willing to beat the savages down and just don't even have to fight them like Trump did and Reagan did. You just threaten them that I am crazy enough to do everything I have to do to keep my nation safe. There were no wars, Brian. We were out of them. He incinerated one of the top guys in Iran. They couldn't do anything back to us because if I can pinpoint a missile on a certain spot, 6,000 miles away, and blow you to smithereens, I can do anything I want. But we have a bumbling fool. And you want to talk about, look, last Thursday, while you were hobnobbing with all the GOP high knobbers I was here slugging away,
I
keeping us safe.
I didn't see any GOP hobnobbers. I saw MAGA, and that's all I
You
wanted.
saw MAGA? Well, you were enjoying time with all of your highfalutin MAGA people, and I was keeping the fort down.
You bet.
But
Oh,
what
you
was
did a great
interesting?
show, JJ. You did a great show.
Oh,
Sorry.
thank you.
Go ahead.
But what to follow up on what you're saying and what we talked about last Thursday was this exponentially increasing of violent crime and crazy crime, like the illegal alien from Nicaragua stealing a state tow truck in Maryland and just driving down the street in the wrong way and just careening and destroying vehicles.
I saw that.
Yeah, and now everything, the rapes and the murders are exponentially growing. And why is that? And we're figuring out that a big segment of the violent crime is from the nation of Venezuela. And when you start to look at what is transpiring, let's just go through it real quick, Brian. Let's talk about the two major crimes that were committed since we had this discussion. I had this discussion on Thursday. Let's talk about the first savage. His last name is Ibarra. He murdered a 22-year-old beautiful young woman that's a nursing student at the University of Augustana, which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, is on the campus of University of Georgia, or they're like right next to each other. This savage, her name was Laken Riley. She was 22 years old, beautiful young girl. No reason at all. She was just jogging. They figured she was just jogging. This is a random act of violence. And this savage from Venezuela crushed her skull so bad that they had to list it as disfiguring. Let me get this quote just right. Disfigured her skull, meaning he crushed it, like just crushed it, then dragged her and threw her on the shore of a lake or a pond. Now let's go back and let's trace this man's steps, okay? And this is what you and I, Brian, have been talking about since we partnered up and ran this podcast. And we're talking about what does it look like when you're illegal alien, you cross the border, and you're released. Well, this is a perfect example. This animal crossed the border in El Paso in 2022. He immediately, like many other ones, drove or got on a taxpayer-funded flight to New York City. In New York City, Sanctuary City, in 2023, he was arrested for injuring a minor under 17 and promptly released with no bail, no bond, just released. ICE could not get to him fast enough before they released him, and they wouldn't honor anything that ICE would give him anyway. Fast forward, he's married and has a child. It was like out of convenience, made a family so they could all cross together. He leaves his newly found wife and child in New York City, goes to Georgia to, quote, work in 2023, and is promptly arrested for shoplifting. ICE can't get a detainer on them because they ignore the detainer and release him because he is in a sanctuary city. The one of two sanctuary cities of all the state of Georgia is at the University of Georgia.
So wait, the University of Georgia, it's considered a sanctuary city? How's that?
Yeah, that area. So the city's the university is so huge, encompassed in that city, the major city around it, Athens. They're a sanctuary city. So they release him. Then he doesn't show up for his court hearing for shoplifting, and there's a bench warrant for his arrest. They ignore it. They know where he's at. How do you know where he's at? Well, his brother is working on the University of Georgia campus or applied for a work permit or for a job with fraudulent documents, work authorization documents, because we don't give these people work authorization documents, remember, when they come through?
Right.
So then just last week, this savage sees this beautiful young girl and caves her skull in. There's no sign of rape yet. So why would he just randomly cave some young woman's skull in, Brian? And the answer to that is because these people that are coming from Venezuela in particular have released their prisons and insane asylums and released them, and with the order to go to America and cross. This is not my belief. Fox News reported on this in 2022 when Troy Nehls, Nehls, a congressman from Texas, stated that DHS confirmed that Venezuela had emptied their prisons and their insane asylums and pushed those people north to America. Donald Trump has stated this repeatedly since 2022 to present day, that they have released the prisoners and insane asylum. Now, as horrible as that is, just yesterday, another Venezuelan that crossed in El Paso, the same place as Ibarra. This savage is 32 years old and raped a girl 14 years old. Savagely raped her in Virginia.
Whoa.
He was arrested and released in El Paso by the Border Patrol in 2023. That's two major crimes from Venezuelans. Now, and you're going to get into this with data, and I love you and I briefly talked about this before we went on the air, and I'm very curious to hear the backstory, right? None of this happens in a vacuum, right? There's always something that is pushing it.
Yep.
Now, before we go into that, I want to talk. So Bloomberg News just yesterday came out with an article where it's saying Venezuelan murder rate is the lowest it has been since 22 years ago in 2021. Am I supposed to believe that that's a coincidence? That you just released all of your prisons, you've taken your gangs and thrown them north into America, and your murder rate drops to 2001 levels. And why? Because those murders and those rapes are happening in America now. And then Maduro, the president or dictator of Venezuela, when we arrest these two savages, and let's just fast forward to when they finally get out of jail or they're just released now. Maduro says, you can't send them back to Venezuela. We're not taking them. And you know what our government said? Know what Biden said? Okay, we won't take them. All right, sir, we won't take them. Do you know who else did this? President Bush, the first one, would not return El Salvadorian gang members. Bush, his son, wouldn't do it. Obama wouldn't. But you know who did? Deported everyone back to every one of these third world nations? Donald Trump. What Americans don't understand is there are nations throughout the globe that refuse to take back their nationals when we deport them. And they refused it. When Trump was here, I talked to the enforcement and removal officer guys and the detention called DOs, detention officers. They said we have flights going around the world non-stop. Everyone that we could never deport before, everyone's being deported because all the nations stood down to that strong man, Donald Trump, and said, yes, sir, we'll do what you say. That's a big difference between a bag of skin, anti-American, hate America, Biden and Democrat Party, and Trump and the MAGA, not the Republicans. No, I won't give them credit. The MAGA Republicans, MAGA, America First, said, this is what we're doing. And they did it. I was there. I lived it. I couldn't believe it. I honestly couldn't believe it, that we had a man that demanded respect for America. The number one most powerful nation in the world was bending knees to third world cesspools and dictators, not until Donald Trump came in and he said, no, we're in the United States of America and you will listen to us or you will pay a very, very steep price.
Well, JJ, what do you want me to show first? And I'm glad you got to walk in my shoes the other day on trying to get slides up and everything.
Let me tell you something. I have a newfound respect for Brian. Brian used to tell me, "Oh man, I'm producing. It's hard." And I'm like, "Yeah. Just put the picture up, right? Just put the picture up." And then it was my turn, and I was like, "Holy mother of God!" I'm trying to keep my senses, and I'm clicking, and everything as I'm clicking is changing the order of what I had lined up, and I silently said a prayer of forgiveness for cursing at you so many times under my breath that you couldn't.
You were very complimentary. You gave me a lot of compliments on the show. Was that the reason?
Yeah, because I was just like, oh man, I feel bad for talking so much smack against him. But when you start, if you can pull up the picture. So I think
do you
when
want
we
the
talk
picture
about
or the video?
Let's do the picture of Ibarra next to Lake and Riley. It's an article I sent you from Fox News, and they put their picture up.
I may have missed that one, man. How about I put up let's run the video for the victim first.
Yeah.
And that way people who have missed it, and then that'll give me a chance to find it as well. And this is heartbreaking, man. I mean my daughter just got out of college, and I mean let's just play it. I'm not laughing. I'm pissed. So all right, here we go. Hopefully this works.
To Athens, Georgia, where we are learning new information tonight about how the suspect in the murder of that 22 to Athens, Georgia, where we are learning new information tonight about how the suspect in the murder of that 22-year-old nursing student first appeared on law enforcement radar. We also have new details about last week's killing of Lake and Riley. Correspondent Dana Marie McNichol has the story tonight from Athens, Georgia.
New information today confirmed by the coroner. Lake and Riley died from blunt force trauma to her head. Riley was murdered Thursday while running along the intramural fields. Students back on campus today after being given a break from class on Friday. Earlier today, hundreds of students gathered in prayer during a vigil to celebrate the young 22-year-old nursing student gone far too soon.
Be kind, catch up with your friends, and strive to be the type of person that Lakin was.
UGA police haven't released a motive for the suspected murderer, Jose Antonio Ibarra. I spoke to a former FBI violent crimes agent who says the killer was brazen.
Showing that they did it in the middle of the day also shows potential lack of criminal sophistication. Most people do not want to get caught doing something like this, and this suspect did it in broad daylight.
ICE confirms the accused killer entered the U.S. illegally through El Paso in 2022. A police report confirms Ibarra was working as a food delivery driver in New York City when police stopped him for having the child of his estranged wife on the back of his scooter without a helmet. He was arrested for acting in a manner to injure a child. ICE says NYPD released him before they could issue a detainer on Ibarra. The suspect is in jail without bond and is facing a long list of charges like felony murder, kidnapping, and hindering a 911 call.
And people here want answers. The coroner says a full autopsy report won't be released for the next couple of weeks. So in the meantime, Lakin's funeral will be held this Friday at her hometown in Woodstock, Georgia. Brett.
Well, what you saw on that video, Brian, was they showed the guy with the green hair. They showed a side. That it shows you how. Look, you and I are running a podcast, and you and I are no budget. And you and I are on point. We show the right picture. We talk about the right thing. Or if we don't, then we correct it. You have a $1 billion organization, Fox News, and they're showing you the wrong picture of the person. That was his brother. They arrested his
Really?
brother. Yes. Those people are incompetent. That's why I don't watch Fox, not 1 minute of Fox News. I watched them for years, and then I started going, that's not right. That's not right. That's wrong. What the hell are they talking about? That's a liberal talking point that makes no sense, has already been proven. So I'm watching this, I'm getting angry because I'm like, Fox News, you suck. Like, you suck hard. That's not him, you jackasses. That's his brother. And his brother was arrested because he's using fraudulent documents. Him and his brother are savages. Get it right, Fox News. Unbelievable, Brian. This isn't some just sophomoric story, like, that, you get the wrong picture. This is a horrific murder by a savage from Venezuela. His brother, who's a savage, is there as well with his green hair. It's very easy to tell the guy that they were arresting in the handcuffs with the two police officers. He didn't have green hair. He's wearing a red shirt. He wasn't wearing some garbage gray shirt and wearing green hair. I mean, can we have some journalistic integrity? Can we just please? Unbelievable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And didn't they report it earlier as that he was a resident of Georgia? Wasn't there something like that?
Absolutely, they did. The news media, mainstream media, said a man from Athens. Okay, look, he's not from Athens. He's from Venezuela, and he's illegal. If I was JJ Carrell in Venezuela and I killed some poor innocent Venezuelan woman, they wouldn't say JJ from Caracas. They would say JJ, a savage from the United States of America, killed one of our beautiful people in Venezuela. But our media is so evil. They're just evil. Let's just call it as it is. They're evil. The man from Athens and his brother with the purple green hair that we're going to say is not the brother, the real guy, and they're from Athens. Come on, man. I'm so sick of these people. I'm just shocked. You know what I'm really shocked about? I sent you an article and shows the police report that the police finally labeled him as Hispanic. What we're seeing throughout and I saw this in my job, and I'm seeing this constantly now. Everyone that's arrested that is not white, they're putting their race as white. That's for another day and another topic, but it's happening every single day in arrest data. It's unbelievable. I'm still not shocked, Brian, but it's $1 billion company. Do you know how many producers, like you and I are doing our production ourselves? Do you know how many producers probably worked on that one clip? Probably a half a dozen or a dozen. And those idiots don't get it right.
On purpose. No, I honestly, they probably screwed that one up, but they do a lot of that crap on purpose.
Yep.
They totally do. And I don't know about the wrong mugshot. Oh, and can you resend it? Because it didn't come through. But a lot of like messing things up, what it does, it buries the story. And it lets them have a reason to like rewrite it on the same URL. And that's why like every single and Fox, honestly, man, they're starting. I mean, since Tucker left, like they're kind of getting into the left lane and passing MSNBC and CNN as in terms of the debaggery speed that they're going at. I mean, these guys are the worst, and they seem the most anti. It's almost like they're. I won't say they're anti-American, but they're definitely pro-uniparty. I'd say being pro-uniparty, they are anti-American. There, I said it. And the worst thing about Fox is there's a lot of people that think Fox is conservative news. It's not conservative news. It's not American news. It's freaking Murdoch news. That means it's globalist news. And they have an agenda. Why do you think they're pushing Nikki Haley? And watch, when Trump wins, or Nikki Haley drops out, right now she's just bleeding money. That's why she's still in the race. She has no prayer. You make money. You roll that into an NGO out of your PAC. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, um, let me see here, JJ. I want to get that up for you. In the meantime, um, let's see if this works here. All right. So that's a picture of her. That's from.
yeah.
Go ahead. This is your story, so you explain it.
Yeah, no, that's a picture from Carrie Lake's Twitter, and she's showing this. This is who she is, because a lot of times, Brian, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, that we talk about these murders and these rapes in almost like in a way that it didn't happen to a real person. Like, well, that's
Yeah.
somebody in Georgia, or that's in New York or California. No, these are real people that, and their families are devastated. Think of this. This woman most likely would have gotten married, been a nurse, had several children. Her parents would have been grandparents. Those children would have met and married some more people and got married. And then you had this tree of the Riley family would have gone out into the world, and it would have gone from her parents and Riley and her sister to maybe 30, 50, 100, 200 people. Now, you just snuffed it out. You snuffed out generations of this family because you are a savage. You did it in broad daylight. That shows you they are mentally ill, and they're in our country, Brian, by the millions, not thousands or tens of thousands, millions, Brian. Millions.
Well, it was interesting what Trump said in his speech, that he has a level of humor when he gives a speech, of course, but he was talking about Venezuela in particular.
Yeah.
And he said, they're sending the worst of the worst. That is confirmed. People call it a conspiracy theory until it's not.
Yep.
And he said, imagine this. He said, and they make our worst look like nice guys. And he went on to say, imagine tens of thousands of Hannibal Lecters pouring over the border, because that's what we have. And I'm not going to make it. It is. And I don't care if there's a couple, innocent people among them. Oh, well, they all need to go. Mass deportations.
Well, look, you're talking about now, you're seeing the violent gang out of Venezuela, like El Salvador has the MS-13 savages. What we're seeing now is you're seeing a gang from Venezuela called Tren de Aragua. Okay?
Can you bounce that into the chat just so we know the spelling?
Yeah.
Or we could do it afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And they're peripheralating in New York and Chicago and the major cities. They're pouring in, and they're just taking over. They're just taking over, because, like Trump said, the worst of the worst. So whatever you see in Southside Chicago or the barrios in New York, you people haven't seen anything yet. These people have lived a life of degradation and violence that we can't even imagine. Just an example, so you can imagine. Poor Laken Riley, in the middle of the day, goes for a jog and gets her head caved in.
Yeah.
For no reason. Just because she's... I can almost fathom why, if he raped her, right? So there was this, hey, I'm going to rape this beautiful young woman, then I'll kill her, right? Okay, I can't... It doesn't make it better. No, he didn't, Brian. He just killed her and then dragged her and hit her body.
Wow. And there's no reason. I mean, it's not a better reason if he raped her, of course.
No, but at least you can, I don't know if rationalize is the right word, but the motive. There would be a motive, right? What's your motive, animal? Well, I just thought I'd kill her, right? Okay. All right. Now, Brian.
Well, this is go ahead.
No, go on. I want to hear what you have to say.
I was going to say, this is a trend. I couldn't even put it up because it was just sickening. But there's another one that I saw where this old lady is just getting beat up by these 6 guys. for no reason at all. They're just beating the hell out of her, kicking her. She's trying to give them money. I mean, it's just disgusting. And
Yeah.
you're right. And I apologize. I'm new with these slides, so I cut off the bottom. But I'm happy to read, the whole thing. But you wanted me to put up this quote, and I think this is true. I mean, and I'll finish the last line if you need me to.
Please go, Brian.
Okay,
so you would read it. Go ahead.
Yeah, JJ sent me this today, and this at a press conference. The source is WSB TV in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's from Georgia Representative Mike Collins, Republican from Athens, said that Riley's death was firmly a responsibility of Joe Biden and U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas. And he says, the blood of Laken Riley is on the hands of Joe Biden, Alejandro Mayorkas, and the government of Athens, Clark County. The Venezuelan suspect in Laken Riley's murder is one of millions of illegal aliens that the Biden administration has released into this country to be welcomed with open arms by Democrat-run sanctuary jurisdictions. This man had no business being in America, much less the UGA, University of Georgia, community, to brutally murder this young American while she was on a run. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
He's right on. The blood of that woman is on their hands. But they don't care, Brian. This is a means to an end. And the end is a fundamental transformation of America through the illegal immigration system to destroy America from within. Abraham Lincoln said it. You're never going to destroy America from the outside. You can't. We're too strong. Even if our government's incompetent, the Americans that have hundreds of millions of guns will never surrender to you. But you can kill us from the inside out. Absolutely, you can. You can destroy everything. Look, man, you and I are talking about this, and you're going to get into it in more detail. But let's look at the data. Let's look at the number. I'm pulling it up as we speak, okay?
Okay.
I want our audience to understand how many Venezuelans are already here, okay? Joe Biden, just so you have an idea, in 2021, 50,000 Venezuelans came across the border, were arrested and released. 2022, 190,000. 2023, 335,000. In FY 2024, we are on pace to have 660,000 Venezuelans pour into our country. Right now, current date from January numbers, February has not come through. We are looking at 739,000 illegal aliens from Venezuela have been arrested and released into America. Unbelievable. Now, before Brian gets into what he has, and it's actually fascinating what he's discovered. And I don't expect anything less from him. But I want to talk, and this dovetails right into it, the wellness company. It's our affiliate sponsor. And I want to talk about just one thing about the wellness company and their product, and it's the Contagion Emergency Kit. I know Brian jokes about it all the time, but I got my kit by my side. This is my emergency kit, okay? And I'm about to purchase the Contagion Emergency Kit. We talked about this before, me having COVID and going to the hospital for 7 days, and I almost died. And they gave me some bull crap remdesivir because there was nothing else to give me, because Biden stopped the flow of certain medications into red states, which I lived at the time in South Dakota, the reddest of the red, and he hated our Governor Noem and stopped medications. So if I would have had the Contagion Kit, let me just read what's in it. and think about somebody with COVID like myself, but also think about what the hell is going to happen in the next year with some other Bill Gates funded, Fauci, all of those treasonous bastards that threw this on us in China. Think about this. Listen what's in it. And I got sick when I saw it today. Ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, and Z-Pak. And I thought to myself, my God, if I would have taken all three of those on the onset of that almost death, I would have been fine. I would have saved myself tens of thousands of dollars of hospital bills, almost a month to 2 months of suffering, getting through that, and then the after effect of that, not being able to breathe for over a month or 2 months. If I would have had it, I would have been fine. No more. My life has changed. I never believed in true government and medical. I never believed in it, but I never thought it was at the level it was until I experienced it firsthand. And that's why I'm going to get my second kit, the contagion kit. And I don't, Brian always talks about being prepared, being prepared. I'm prepared, but I was not completely prepared. And now that I have my wellness kits, my emergency kit, and I ordered my contagion kit, I feel good. I feel like I'm getting there, right? I'm getting to the point where when things bad happen, and they are, I'm ready. So Brian, on that, I really want, I just heard a little bit of what you discovered today, and I want to hear the totality of it, because from what you did tell me, I just was sitting here like, of course. No, I could not envision what you're going to tell me. But when you first told me kind of an outline of what you found, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. All yours, brother. You're muted.
Okay. Is that good?
Great.
Great. Okay. So, let me just get all these. There we go. All right. And let me add the slides to the stage. That is Riley. Okay. So, and then, of course, we'll talk about that next episode. JJ, you want to just point out what that means really quick as I click by it? Because the slides are all in one deck.
This is Bloomberg, and he just came out yesterday or the day before. Violent deaths fall 22-year low. 22-year low. Connect the dots. We have all those people here in Venezuela. This is Venezuela's murder rates have dropped to 2001. Holy mother of God.
All right, so the slides don't look great, so I'm going to read off my deck here, okay? So what I found was I was trying to figure out really quickly, what was happening with these, I'm sorry, let me just do this. What was happening with these, with all these Venezuelans coming over? And so I started just doing a quick timeline, and I noticed that there were sanctions against the Venezuelans for a long time. I will get these slides right. I'm so sorry. Since actually Obama. Okay, so let's get right to the timeline. These sanctions were basically about, according to the Obama administration, about human rights abuses. But let's just go back to October 5th. So what I discovered, and forgive me, I just put this together in the last few hours. What happened in October of this year, of 2023, is the Biden administration lifted sanctions that had been on Venezuela for over 10 years. Okay, so they couldn't sell oil to us. They couldn't unload their debtor bonds, that sort of thing. They owe a lot of people money, especially the Chinese. And so they defaulted on a lot of loans. And what happens with those defaulted loans, they become like I don't know the name for them, like junk bonds almost, and people can trade on those, and they can sell those on the market. And then I'm not a finance guy, but I guess the way it works is as money starts flowing from into Venezuela's coffers from oil, which they couldn't sell to us, they go ahead and those things rise in value. And so what happened was they'd been sanctioned, and then all of a sudden, all the bleeding hearts all through the Trump administration started saying, "Oh no, people are dying because that's what Venezuela uses to buy, provide food and care." No, they don't provide food and care, and so, um, but the real people pushing the ban on doing business with Venezuela were the banks. Okay, so like, I mean, JP Morgan, I mean, you name it, the usual suspects, Greystone, all these, because they're holding these bonds that are, defunct, and you can't move those if there's sanctions. So if you lift the sanctions on those particular things, they can move those and sell those around. Now, it turns out the people buying them also were the Russians and the Chinese. So what the Biden administration did is magically they lifted the sanctions, and then they started in return for, hey, you got to have free and fair elections, and hey, can you please stop sending so many illegal immigrants over here? Okay, so Maduro, the president of Venezuela, he's like, yeah, sure, we could do that. No problem. It's almost like they did it on a handshake, man. And so at this time, Washington, and I wrote this slide, insisted Maduro take steps towards free elections before it considered any further significant sanctions relief. Sanctions relief means lifting sanctions. Sanctions on Venezuela were originally imposed by the Obama administration due to concerns over alleged counterterrorism and anti-drug initiatives, as well as for alleged human rights abuses, anti-democratic action, and corruption. Yeah, I'm sure they're really concerned about that. Following this, the Trump administration expanded economic sanctions on Venezuela in response to the rising perception of authoritarian rule under Maduro. In particular, Trump imposed an embargo inhibiting the U.S. purchase of petroleum from PDVSA, Venezuela's state-owned oil company, in 2017. Trump also confiscated Venezuela's $8 billion U.S. subsidiary in Citgo. Sorry. Almost had a Freudian slip there. So you see there, it's like Trump comes over the top. Obama does sanctions. He expands them, and he takes a royal company. I love it. Okay. And JJ, you would know. I mean, 2017, what was there a mass invasion from Venezuela?
No.
So wait a minute. Wait. Whoa. That can't be right, JJ, because there were expanded sanctions, right? So I would think Maduro would send more of them here to punish us, right? That's what happened. That's what really happened. You got to be mistaken,
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Really?
Absolutely not. And everyone, Brian, let me follow up with that. Every single person that crossed the border was deported. So he could send
Wow.
anything he wanted, but they were all deported. They weren't released into our country. Connect the dots. Connect the dots. Look, man, I'm telling you, we are witnessing the destruction of America in real time. Historians are going to write volumes and volumes and volumes about how America allowed itself to be destroyed from their own government. Absolutely, Brian. You're spot on.
I swear to God, my thing has gone down 3 times now in the show, and the last time we had a hot topic that was a discovery, a big reveal. Remember that happened? Not saying anything. I'm just saying.
Not saying. Just saying. You're not saying anything. You're just saying.
Just saying.
But you're
just
right.
saying.
So I was just saying, Brian, that you're absolutely correct. There was nothing of that magnitude in 2017. I was there. I lived it.
Yep.
I lived it. It's not.
Well, let's keep going. So then what happens is So this is, I'm sorry, my slides are all out of order. Okay, so there we go. So that's like October 5th. You saw that report where they want him to take steps towards free and fair elections. Basically, quit locking up your opponents. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Sound. Wait. So the Biden administration's telling Maduro not to lock up his opponents.
Isn't that amazing?
I mean, do I
Can you can't make this stuff up, Brian.
Yeah.
You can't make it up, Brian. You can't.
Unbelievable. I mean, that just honestly, that just struck me now while I was reading this. I'm not even trying to be coy. So anyways, let me continue. So it's under this GL, which is General License 44. It suspends, now listen for the key words here. It suspends Venezuela-related sanctions for most oil and gas sales from Venezuela to the United States, including the payment of taxes, royalties, costs, fees, dividends, and forfeits, typo, profits related to oil and gas transactions and operations. This included the delivery of oil and gas from Venezuela to the creditors of the government of Venezuela, meaning the people that lent them money, including creditors from their main creditors of their main oil company, which is kind of like one and the same, for the purposes of repayment. So let me just unpack that. The lifting of these sanctions also included the lifting of delivery of oil and gas to Venezuela's creditors.
Mm-hmm.
I just want
creditors, Brian.
They owe the most money to China.
Oh, that's shocking, isn't it?
Yep. They owe the most money to China. And then they said, however, this does not include any Russian persons or Russian businesses. That's mine. And that's from the guidance itself. October 18th guidance states that the GL-44 will only be renewed if the government of Venezuela leadership, quote unquote, followed through with their commitments and continue concrete steps towards a democratic election by the end of 2024. By the end of 2024, I could sell a lot of oil in that time. Let's go on. Now this is December 1st, man. Okay, I'll just ignore that. The slide format got messed up. All right, so we go on, and then you go here. Oh, December 1st. U.S. State Department states that it is deeply concerned by the lack of progress by Venezuela to meet their end of the October 18th, 2023 agreement between the U.S. and the Maduro regime of Venezuela, which required the Venezuelan government to cease persecution and imprisonment of President Maduro's and the Uniparty's political rivals in return for lifting sanctions. So basically, you're talking about a month and a half later. We've already lifted the sanctions. Mm-hmm. All right. Things are transacting. You saw, shoot, man, it was like, November 8th, I believe, from our last presentation a few ago. They were immediately pumping out oil to the Chinese. Mm-hmm. Right around the time they also increased the Venezuelan invasion of illegal aliens to flood into Chicago. Whoa, what's in Chicago? What's in Illinois? Oh, a Chinese EV battery company called Goshen. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So let me see what other slides I got here. I might not have any. Okay, so that's all I had time to put together, JJ. But let me explain it this way. So from what I read, and I'll get all these links up there, what happened is, according to the Wall Street Journal, there was, and I'll put the link in the description, before the sanctions were lifted, right, by the Biden administration, which, as you correctly noted, it seemed to increase the illegal aliens being shoved at us from Venezuela. Now, as of January 30th, 2024, the Biden administration is saying, hey, we're going to put those sanctions back. They're supposedly put them back anyways, April 18th. But they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna put those sanctions back now if you don't meet something, if you don't meet some end of the bargain." Okay,
You're not going to do
and
anything.
Maduro actually said, I'll have to get the next quote for the next show, or I'll do a full deep dive this week. Maduro said, "You know what? Then I'll send more illegals." Because he needs to keep the flow open so they can
Yes.
pay China.
Yep.
And China before that was getting oil pumped to them from Venezuela anyways. And what they were doing, and I read this in, it was like Reuters or something. So obviously the government knew if they can read. I mean, we know Joe Biden can't do anything, but besides that, and they were using Malaysian flagships to move the oil, so it looked like it was going to China. And then they were using international brokers, because when you do oil, there's lots of steps along the way. There's brokers who broker the deal, and a lot of that apparently was going to Russia as well. See, Russia wants to buy it up because it increases the price of oil because of demand. So you take the supply off the market, China, Russia, Venezuela, probably most of OPEC. And then all of a sudden, by the time Trump gets back in, hopefully we just open up our oil wells and drill.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, oh my God, it's going to be 10 times that amount per barrel. So really all of the actions in trying to, I don't think they were trying to hurt Venezuela at all, because like I said, all of these US investment companies are making bank off these junk bearer bonds, whatever they are. And you saw specifically in the language of those sanctions, it addressed those secondary type loans, because their buddies in Wall Street, Biden's buddies in Wall Street, they're like, "Hey, yo, dude, we need to move these out." Now, Trump was against any lifting of the sanctions, and he increased them. And look at the way Wall Street, look at the way special interests just rain down on him. So yeah, that's not as good as I thought I'd do explaining it. Did it make sense, JJ?
Yeah, it did. It brings it all together, because you have, and again, this is what you and I have been talking about for months. We're not in a bubble in America, meaning what's happening to us is not just because of internal politics. This is a global reset. A global reset is already happening in Western Europe. It's happening in America. And who's driving it? The bankers, the oil guys, China, Russia. They're all driving it because our government is two things. They're compromised. Absolutely, it's been proven they're compromised. And the second thing is the people that are inside the government, the major posts, hate America, and they're trying to fundamentally transform her. It's not my words. It's their words. I tried to explain this to somebody, Brian, and put it this way. When you get married, you meet a beautiful woman and you say, "I love you. I want to marry you." You don't say, "I love you and I cannot wait to marry you on our wedding day because I'm going to fundamentally transform you." No, you marry that person because you want that person, the way she or he is, to be with me forever. That I don't want you to change. So when you have Obama and Biden and the rhinos too say, "I need to change you," well, then you don't love America. There's no other way to articulate that. You don't love America. You want to change her because you think that she is bad and evil, and everything, her greatness is from ill-gotten gains. So yeah, it makes sense. It makes complete sense.
Yeah,
and they're making money.
And I would even say this. I mean, yes, there's a big faction of those people that want to fundamentally change America. There's, at the top power centers, seems like they're using America just as a big, like a big freaking fat cow that they're just sucking off of until it is nothing but a shriveled mass, of bones. They're just bleeding it dry to make profit. And they don't care. That's why they're globalists, because they'll have many other places to go. They don't give a crap. And so the joke is even on, in my opinion, it's even on these left-wing radicals, the neo-Marxists, the ones that always lose at a Marxist revolution are
Yep.
the people out on the streets. They always lose. They always get, those are the suckers, okay?
Yep.
Because when the revolution happens, the revolution is a tool. It's to take the current regime out of power. What happens to the revolutionaries every time, JJ?
Get whacked.
Yep, that's right. That's how the guillotine was invented. So the thing is, it's like I see that, but it's like, in my opinion, it's like you're this big time investment group, right? And we're like, hey, JJ, there's some land and there's a block in Seattle that's grandfathered in some taxes that are really favorable. You know, be great if we could get those homes. Unfortunately, they're not selling because of that. And what if we start a big riot, right? And then we get the rioters we'll get a few of our guys, some logistic guys in there. We get them to block off this whole area so that not even the businesses can run there. It's unlivable. Everyone's moving out. They can't wait to sell. I mean, that's just a fantasy. That would never happen.
That would never happen. Oh,
it did happen.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
and anyone in the chat feel.
Oh, we lost Brian again, but I will tell you this, Brian's absolutely right. That's the chop in Seattle. And all of those places, all those buildings and homes and all that had all kind of tax incentives built in that were there. And they just bought them back. You're just being used, America. You're just being used.
Yeah.
Well, here's amazing. What's amazing, Brian, is now you and I we're being told that we're going to stay within an hour, and how fast an hour goes, brother. I mean,
Yeah.
We went over a little bit by about 5 minutes, but holy smokes. Can you talk about Heaven's Harvest before we have to
Yeah, I was
wrap
just
up?
going to say tomorrow's an exciting day. Tomorrow's an exciting day. It's going to be really exciting for my wife because I'm cooking breakfast. Okay.
No way.
Yeah, no, I'm going to cook it up tomorrow. So this is not part of the
Are you having any apples or strawberries left?
No.
No, okay.
No.
What are you going to cook?
No. Well, this is not the kit I have. The kit I have is here, and I had it last week, but because of CPAC and everything, yeah, there we go. I got the beef, chicken, and eggs, man. This is the emergency prepared. This is a protein kit, actually. So I'm going to use this to make breakfast or lunch. I haven't decided yet. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Got
Are you
some
going to
eggs
film
in
it?
there. I am going to film it.
Good,
So,
good.
but yeah, we got chicken breast in there. We got beef patty, and this is the low carb one too. There's like no carbohydrates in this at all, which is awesome. Yeah.
So you're going to make that for Naomi?
I am going to make it for Naomi, and I'm not going to. Well, I think she.
Are you going to tell her?
She could probably hear me. She'll know it's Heaven's Harvest, but I've already had it, so I wouldn't make her anything. I wouldn't make my sweet queen of the world anything that wasn't delicious. So that's where we are. But this is Heaven's Harvest. We have a lot of this food at the house. It's fantastic. You don't need a zombie apocalypse to need to buy this. This is good because look, if you're in a blue state and they're going to solar, well, you better have some food on hand because look at Texas. It all goes down. And also response times now on average are down like 12 minutes or something, which on an average across the country is huge. So for everyone who, if you were like me during the pandemic, you may have said, screw it, I'm going to eat whatever I want. And I got pandemic weight, which I'm burning off. And that's why I'm on the protein kit. But the protein's really important too, more than there's obviously we won't be worrying about diets in a catastrophe, but you get much more sustained energy out of protein than carbs. You need your carbs, but protein, it just keeps you going a lot longer. It's like solid rocket fuel versus, like sugar fuel. So there's a lot of different kits here. And these are massive kits. Like you don't need to buy a ton of this stuff for it to last. And once you have it, it's there. This stuff stays stable for years. And it's also, what I appreciate is these are stackable.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal. I mean, when you have a basement, if you have a dirt floor basement or something like that, or you just don't have a lot of room, you live in an apartment like, or a small condo like mine in Salem, you can, well, actually my son made a coffee table out of 2 of them and just put a sheet over it. But so they're worth it. You want to get these. Now, what keeps us going, what keeps me and JJ able to do this, because he's right, we don't have a budget. We don't have it's just us and of course Daily Clout. But what this does is type in the promo code unrestricted when you get to the thing. Let me get the right company up there. Okay, so when you get to Heaven's Harvest, and it's heavensharvest.com, and so when you go to your checkout, what you want to do, so when you're going to here, all right, you're going to, let's just say we're going to add that to your cart right there. Okay. And then go to your checkout. Now, when you get to your checkout right here, okay, that's your discount code. Okay. Right over there. See this? Okay. You're going to just type unrestricted.
Yep.
That's where you type it right in there. And you're going to get, JJ, what is it? 10% off or 15%?
Yep. I think it's 10. I could be wrong, but I think it is 10.
Let's shoot low just so we're safe. 10% off. And it's definitely worth it. I'm doing a horrible job here with my description of it, but again, this food's delicious, and I like more than just the apples and the strawberries. I like it all.
Hey man, just post the video. I gotta see it.
Oh yeah, I'll post the video. I'll definitely post the video. Well, dude, and I'm going to post a video of our morning routine, which is a little shooting. Some
America.
Actually, our morning routine is coffee and reading. So that's it.
Hey, great job on the research, brother. I love the backstory of things, and when you start to see what is happening globally and all the players in America and outside, it really clearly connects the dots and makes the picture very, very visible. And like we talked about, once you see the picture and you see the violence and you see the treason, you can't unsee it. It's there. It's burnt into your mind. So good job
Absolutely.
Tonight.
You as well.
We'll be back on Thursday night, right?
We are going to be back on Thursday night. JJ, take us out.
All right. I just have to. I'm gonna read a quote my wife texted me right when I was on the show, and it's her favorite president because he's from Kansas, Harry Truman, and he says, "Quote: America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, and the unbeatable determination to do the job at hand." Man, is that not ready? Is that not perfect for today in our world that we live in? We are going to have to be determined. We are going to have to do the job at hand, and it is going to be messy, violent, and uncomfortable. But our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and our founders all had to do things that were uncomfortable. And I think it's our time to do our job and be uncomfortable in what we have to do to save our republic. So on that, have a good night. We'll see you on Thursday. All right, Brian.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.